Hello, it's a pleasure being with you all virtually. We are honored to serve as panelists for the Nelson Institute's 2021 Earth Day Conference. My colleague and I are humbled to share our thoughts on the parallels between the global pandemic and climate change. But first, really quick, just wanted to do some introductions. My name is Chris Canto, and I'm a senior risk analyst at American Family Insurance, and I have the pleasure of leading our enterprise response to climate-related risk and ESG topics. And prior to that, I worked closely with Beth and supported our sustainability and climate action efforts. I'm a UW-Cal's alumni and have graduated with a BS in Natural Resources and Landscape Architecture. Also attended the Nelson Institute and have a master's in urban and regional planning. I've worked both in the public and private sector as a sustainability professional and recently have served on the Wisconsin Climate Task Force. With that, going to pass it over to Beth.
Hello, I'm Beth Churchill, and I serve as the Community and Social Impact Consultant as part of our Office of Community and Social Impact, where I have the privilege of focusing on climate resilience and economic opportunity for all. I too am an UW alum through my undergrad in landscape architecture, followed by a social innovation and sustainability leadership graduate certificate through Edgewood College. I've spent the majority of my career as a sustainability professional. I have also spent a good chunk of my life living in Wisconsin, which has shaped who I am, and I am a product of Wisconsin's historical land ethic and a longtime ambassador of Earth Day. So, Chris, how has the pandemic shaped your thinking about climate change and the planet's future?
Yeah, thanks, Beth. So the pandemic has given me a sense of optimism and a sense of hope. That individually and collectively we can respond to the climate crisis that we face. So although we've certainly experienced great divisiveness and divide, I remain hopeful that when reflecting on the stories of personal resilience and shared humanity, we've really accomplished a lot in the face of this virus, and it's truly astonishing. The individual resilience demonstrated, whether it's the frontline workers or those managing life at home. I personally feel every unique story is very motivating and kind of reassuring that the future is going to be okay. So I'll kick it back to you, Beth. How has this shaped your thinking about climate change and the planet's future?
Thanks, Chris. Actually, the pandemic has given me the opportunity to witness firsthand a renewed relationship between individuals and families and the outdoor natural world. The need for getting outside, being in nature has sparked brand new connections for individuals who otherwise may not have had such a significant relationship prior to the pandemic. This renewed relationship has inspired me greatly. Knowing intimately how the natural world can help an individual's overall wholeness, health, and mental well-being. I'm hopeful that this renewed relationship has the ability to grow the respect and further the understanding between humans and nature, and how critically important that relationship is for the planet's future. So back to you, Chris. Another question. What is one lesson that you would like to share with our viewers that you've taken from the pandemic about climate change?
Yeah, thanks. So, for me, the pandemic has really reinforced the interconnectedness and cascading impacts systemic risk such as climate change can have. So when I think about the pandemic, what is most interesting to me is that the impacts experienced, while certainly health-related in origin, quickly extend beyond just health in the healthcare system and really have begun to expose and amplify existing vulnerabilities in our infrastructure, so whether it be housing, transportation, or communication, as well as our social system, so the healthcare system, childcare systems, and education. And finally, financial stability, so the resulting market volatility and job loss. So for us at American Family Insurance, the pandemic was just as much of a facility and infrastructure risk as much of the health risk. So as we think about climate change, I think these considerations all hold true, and if anything, may be further exacerbated if left unchecked. So from the recent blackouts in Texas to PG&E going bankrupt a handful of years ago in California as a result of the wildfires, our energy infrastructure has and will continue to be impacted. Our coastlines will continue to erode, and in the Midwest, inland flooding and storms such as the derecho that we had last year will continue to impact our lives. So that interconnectedness and kind of cascading impacts is really what fascinates me. And when I think about the parallels between the pandemic and climate change. And so Beth, what lesson have you taken from the pandemic about climate change?
Thanks again, Chris. What you just summarized has such far-reaching impact and thought partnering. And in addition, what has really come out of this time is this opportunity to use or speak about the pandemic as it relates to connecting the dots between climate change and the complexity of its reach and its impacts, such as you described. You know, we've learned that transformational large-scale change is possible when we are all working toward a shared goal. And as you mentioned, we have all learned how to communicate and get work done virtually, saving tons of energy and carbon. Another lesson I've learned is through the work we are currently focusing on around engaging with diverse youth and young climate advocates and helping us fully understand what climate action and climate justice means to each individual. We are hosting listening sessions and deep empathy research to learn from these individuals and their lived experience as to what it means to each of them and to each of their communities. We are listening to these emerging leaders in order to continue to get our own house in order, as well as grow as a partner in progress with our future workforce and continue to be good corporate advocates for climate action and justice. In many cases, climate change is not a part of one's vocabulary. Climate literacy is often centered around a lived experience. Those who have grown up in the California fires and now suffer from asthma, those who have lived on the East Coast and have moved multiple times due to displacement from significant storms and flooding. So a lesson learned has been from these advocates is that it is important for us to remove the perception and the barriers that the topic is only for those versed in science and professional credentials, and that everyone has a climate story to tell, just like every single human has their own pandemic story to tell. Helping elevate these stories helps the collective and narrative and the collective advocacy. The pandemic did not slow the momentum of getting one's voice out there and organizing around activism and advocacy. It did just the opposite. It illuminated the disparities and has brought significant attention to the many of the health and access issues facing Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So these same systemic disparities are relevant to climate change. So climate resilience and environmental justice are intricately linked. And this inequity is where we want to focus our attention and our actions towards just responses in an unruly world, the theme of this year's conference. So with that, Chris and I just want to say how thankful we are to the UW Nelson Institute for providing everyone this platform to share our thoughts. We enjoyed collaborating around thinking about these questions with each other. And we also want to thank the Nelson Institute for your continued leadership in providing us an Earth Day conference, always rich in diverse perspectives and thought partnering.
Thank you. Enjoy the conference.